Now I'm going to show you how to graph a linear function given the equation in slope-intercept form. If you look at this equation, it is in slope-intercept form. It's y equals negative 3/4 x plus 2. In the equation, we can tell the m value, which we know to be the slope, is negative 3/4. So it is the value that's being multiplied by x. We also know the b value in the equation, which is 2. This is our y-intercept, or the initial value where it crosses the y-axis. So the slope will work with any given point along the graph of this function. So we need an initial starting point, a point that we can plot on the graph. And the easiest one from this equation is 2. Since it is the y-intercept, we know that's where this function will cross this y-axis. So your initial value, or the initial point you'll plot on the graph, is 2, because this is our y-intercept. Now that we have this initial point, we can use the slope, which is the rise over the run. And from here, we can plot a second, a third, or even a fourth if we wanted to. So the slope is this. It's a negative 3/4. So we know a downward slope means, or a negative slope means, from left to right, the slope is going to be going down. So what I would suggest, since both of these numbers are not negative, we can only use one as negative, I would suggest using the negative with the rise. And that way you can tell if the graph is going to go either up if it's positive or down if the rise is negative to begin with. So I would start with this. From this point, our y-intercept, the rise goes down 3 because it's negative 3. So down 3 spaces. And then the horizontal run is 4. So then from here we move 4 spaces to the right. And if you always attach the negative with the rise, you'll always be moving to the right when you graph this. So you'll either go up and over to the right, or you'll go down and over to the right. Now we have 2 points on this graph, so we could really draw a straight line. But just to make sure it's drawn straight and through the accurate points, we'll put at least one more point on here. So from this new point that I plotted, I'm going to use the slope again. I'm going to go down 3 spaces and over 4. And now we have 3 points on this graph. If you ever didn't have enough space to go to the right, you could always go to the left by instead of attaching the negative with the rise, attach it with the run. So instead, if we switch this slope to be 3 divided by negative 4, you could also go up 3 spaces and back to the left 4 spaces, and this would still work along this line. So the last thing we need to do is take a ruler or some kind of straight edge and join these points. Since this is a function, a continuous function, we're going to draw a line through the points and add these arrows on the end. And if you look at this function, my y-intercept is 2, the slope is negative 3/4, and the slope, again, we can tell from the graph moving left to right that it is negative because it's moving down.